Um, Makhachev versus Ian Machado Garry is happening this weekend, folks. And this card, I kind of talked about it a little bit in my last video. This card is not great. Honestly, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. It's not great. It's not good. But there are some sneaky good matchups here that we're going to talk about. There's no ranked fights at all outside of championship matchups, which is frustrating and definitely does not contribute to the narrative that this card is ass cheeks. So, whatever, we're going to appreciate it for what it is. We're going to begin right here, right now. We're going to go at the start of the card. Crazy way to open up the card with Jeremiah Wells versus Miktabek Oralby. All right. I don't think Jeremiah Wells is all that bad, to be honest with you. He seems to get a pretty rough reputation. Jeremiah Wells is kind of a win-loss fighter, which he is, but he is pretty okay. He's definitely not the worst welterweight. He's definitely not in the bottom 50% of welterweights, I'd say. Where Miktabek Oralby is a fight away from a title shot. A title shot, absolutely. A fight away from a ranked opponent. If Oralby wins another fight at welterweight, he's definitely right there for a ranked opponent. Smudge grappler, Oralby is. He has a KO, but, like, he's a smudge grappler. That's what he does. Jeremiah Wells is just a powerhouse, right? I mean, this fight, what are we dealing with here? Yeah, I don't know if... I really don't think I would say that Miktabek Oralby deserves to be minus 900. That doesn't really track for me. He's good. He's very good. He's probably going to win. But Jeremiah Wells always has that puncher's chance. That being said, of course I'm going with Miktabek Oralby to win this fight by smudge decision. After this, you got to give him a ranked guy, man. And I feel like Oralby is going to be the guy that gets offered to fighters on the losing streaks. Because no upcoming prospect's going to want to fight a tough matchup like him. Like, Oralby is going to get a Leon Edwards. You know, Oralby is going to get D-Rod or fucking whoever, right? Balal, right? Like, those guys on the decline are gonna get Oralby, I think, and that's gonna suck for them. But you know, he's gonna be a big figure in the top of the division. I think he's gonna be in that welterweight top 15, which again is just such a murderer's row. So excited to see Oralby there. Boring fight style, but funny look and funny personality. So Miktabek Oralby is gonna win this fight. Moving on to the card. Neil Magny, my Java updates. Neil Magny, still fighting Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. Close fight, I bet. Yep. I'm going to go with Neil Magny in this one, actually. I think Ramiz Brahimaj is not very good. And I think Neil Magny is just a bit craftier. Now, people have a bad taste of Neil Magny in their mouth right now. Pause. Because in his last fight, he got annihilated in a round. But it was to Yaroslav Amosov, which now, looking back, is not that bad a loss, right? I think we can justify that. As you know, that's gonna happen when a lot of people fight Yaroslav. So that was Magny's last performance. Brahimaj, I honestly couldn't even tell you. But Neil Magny's crafty, man. It takes a decent level of fighter to beat Neil Magny. It's always been that way. You gotta be okay. You gotta be, like, able to sniff the rankings if you're gonna beat Neil Magny. I don't think Ramiz Brahimaj is at that place right now. And also, you just look at some of the mechanics of this fight. 6'3", 8-inch reach advantage that benefits Neil Magny in the way that he fights. I think Magny's gonna win this by crafty pitter-patter points decision. Keeping his range on the feet, poking with that jab and the long teep kicks. I see Magny getting a 29-28 over Ramiz Brahimaj. He should consider retiring soon. He should. I mean, but hey, man, if he can win, why not? Moving on up the card, two guys I've never heard of. Rafael Tabayas versus Lucas Fernando. I see Lucas Fernando is the huge favorite despite being 0-1. And Rafael Tabayas is 12-2 and is the dog. I'm going with the dog because I don't know who this guy is. Call me a casual, but this guy is 14-2 and this guy's 0-1. I'm sure that's not actually his record, but regardless, we're gonna go with Tobias. But who really cares? Moving on up the card, Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. Vicente Luque, man, what a fucking fall from grace. He used to be legitimately good. and then he got fucking brain hemorrhaged or whatever. But recently, he showed some promise, you know? And Tresean Gore is a similar caliber where he can show some pretty decent promise in the grappling and in the submission game, where I think this fight's predominantly going to be contested. I think Luque is going to snatch him up. I don't know. I don't think Tresean Gore is all that good. And I think Luque is good. He's just a little declined from what he was. But recently, it seems like maybe he's found his place again. He's snatched up some pretty sick submissions recently. So, slight dog is Vicente Luque, and that's another factor why I think he's probably going to take this one. Pretty confident in this, actually. Tresean Gore has never really been all that good. He got that one really gnarly choke that everyone thinks about. Oh, Tresean Gore, he did this. And that's like the only reason why people care about him. I think Luque is going to craft it up. I think Luque is going to get this done by submission. Round 1 or round 2, pretty easily. I think it's just going to be a quick decision from Tresean, a quick mistake that Luque will capitalize on, and we'll kind of be like, damn, Luque, you ain't that bad. So, going to go with Luque in this one. Moving on up the card, Dante Johnson versus Eric Makhachev. I honestly think both these guys aren't that good. I know Dante Johnson has like this aura to him, but if you recall his last fight, I forget who he fought, but he looked bad in that fight, brother. He looked sloppy and open and nowhere near the level of prospect that they were making him out to be. Again, he was fighting like a can. I don't remember who it was, but he was fighting someone very beatable. Eric Makhachev, kind of same situation, man. He's just not all that good. I know he won his last fight, but he's not good. He's not an amazing middleweight. I think Dante Johnson has a tremendous amount of inherent ability. I think he has a lot of potential that he has not necessarily realized yet. So, in between his UFC debut, maybe there were some jitters, maybe there were some different things going on. Could he have improved? Absolutely. And that's what I'm betting on in this one. I'm betting that Dante Johnson has improved, that he's begun to wrap the holes in his game, that the first performance was more of a fluke than anything else, that it was UFC jitters, call it whatever you will. But Dante Johnson does have a lot of natural ability. I'm not impressed with him in terms of his most recent performance. It was pretty bad. But did you see glimmers of possibility in there? Absolutely, yeah. And I think that he's going to kind of find himself and have somewhat of a coming out performance here against Eric Makhachev, where in the first fight in his UFC career, it was pretty embarrassing. Not a great debut. I think this is going to be his true coming out party. Smoking Eric Makhachev. I think he's going to knock him out in the first round. Introduce himself to the middleweight division in full. And he's going to put hands on Makhachev. Makhachev is just not that good. Hate to say it. Dante Johnson, don't let me down this time. Moving on up the card. Charles Dodson versus Eduardo Chapelin. This is short notice for Chapelin. This was supposed to be Jose Ochoa, but because of the passing of Alan Nascimento from the Shoot to Box team, Ochoa stepped down. So short notice, as in like 2 days notice, we have Chapelin coming in here from the Contender. I believe it was the Contender. It might have been the Ultimate Fighter. I'm not sure. But regardless, I'm going with Charles Johnson. I might have gone with Charles Johnson over Ochoa, and that's a tough fight. Charles Johnson is good. But also, Charles Johnson is kind of like Michael Johnson, right? Where he wins the fights he's supposed to lose, and he loses the fights he's supposed to win. I mean, homie has a knockout win over Joshua Van. Homie has a knockout win over Loner Kavanaugh. Like, Johnson wins some crafty matchups, but I think he's net good enough, Johnson is, to beat this other guy on 2 days' notice. I really think so. Johnson is coming off a loss, but I do think in general he's pretty darn good. He's pretty darn good. So I'm going to go with Johnson in this one. I bet most people are going to go with Johnson. I'd like to see him find himself a little bit in his career, in that he does lose a lot of matchups that I think he should win. I'd like to see that turn around, and maybe that will happen at some point, and maybe this is the start of it. So Charles Johnson, no surprise. Moving on up the card, Chidi Njokuani versus Yoel Alvarez. This is short notice for Yoel Alvarez. He is the favorite by quite a bit. He is coming off a loss to Yamislav Amosov. Again, no shame. I mean, you want to go with Yoel Alvarez. Yoel Alvarez is quite good. Chidi Njokuani is okay. He's nothing crazy. Yoel Alvarez is legitimately good. And he just lost to Yamislav Amosov, who might be one of the best fighters in the welterweight division. But the short notice is definitely a factor here. The fact that he's coming in on a week or so's notice while Chidi's had a full camp for this He's coming off a pretty embarrassing loss last time around. So is he going to come in with the attitude of, like, I need to get back? Or is he going to be a little demoralized? I just don't know. But I'm tempted to go with Chitty, to be honest. I'm tempted to go with the underdog. Chitty's powerful. Chitty's no joke, and he's at a full camp. But I am going to go with Yoel Alvarez. I'm not sure about this one, though. I honestly think this could go either way. But I do tend to put more stock in the ability of Yoel Alvarez and his technique and his talent. And I would pick him to beat a lot of people. I know it's short notice, but I still would give my cards to Yoel Alvarez. I would say the range is a benefit to him, but Chitty's around the same size. But Yoel is really dynamic, and Chitty is a hard hitter, but I think Yoel's got more tools in the bag, and I think he's going to get this one done. I do. Very close. Chitty could easily get it done. If this was full camps either way, I'm going Alvarez every single day of the week. But the fact that this is 3 days' notice, or however a week's notice, however long it was, and the fact that Yoel Alvarez is coming off a pretty rough loss makes it interesting. Not interesting enough for me to pick Chitty, but interesting enough for me to say, you never know. So I'm going with Yoel Alvarez, as would most people probably. Moving on to the main card and to whatever that was. Edson Esteban. Edson Barboza versus Esteban Ribovics. Sick fight. Honestly, dope fight. Edson Barboza is an old man, but still lit fight. I mean, this is such a fun stand-up matchup between these two. Both coming off losses. I forgot who beat Barboza, but Ribovics just lost to Gamrot, which now Gamrot losing to Quillen Salkild is not a great look for Esteban. And Esteban's best wins being Terrence McKinney, and Daniel Zellhuber, which turned out to not be worth much. He's not as tested as we thought he was. I was really high on Esteban Ribovics. I've always been a big fan of him. His fights are fun. He has an entertaining style. I thought he was genuinely good. But Edson Barboza has fought the who's who, man. I know he's at the end of his career. This could honestly be his last fight, Edson's last fight. But he's so crafty. He's got a really good game. That is crazy. Minus 575 for Esteban Ribovics. I am going to go with Ribovics. If this fight was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd probably go with Barboza. I think Barboza is a really tough fight for Ribovics. But he's just on the older side, man. And we have seen some really good Esteban Ribovics performances where he puts absolute hands on people. And I feel like that's probably what we're going to see. I feel like Barboza's going to have some moments, but Esteban's going to know what to expect, going to be prepared for his wild, flashy stuff, and is ultimately going to be just fine when those wheel kicks and whatnot come down the pipe. Whereas Esteban's speed is going to be too much for Ribovics. Or Esteban's speed is going to be too much for Barboza. And is going to TKO Barboza. Retirement, I bet. Sad. Really fun fight. I'm really hoping that we have some fun exchanges on the feet and Barboza shows some glimmers of who he was. But I think this is probably going to go to Ribovics. And I think ultimately that's better for the sport. Ribovics is a good prospect. He's an entertaining guy, and he's got some real potential at lightweight, even though he did just lose to Gamrot. And Barboza's over the hill. So would it be a fun retirement win for Barboza? Sure. I think, honestly, no matter what, this fight's a win-win. I don't see this fight being boring, and whoever wins, it's good in its own way. So I am going to go with Ribovics, Esteban Ribovics to beat Edson Barboza, but I wish Edson Barboza the best in this one. Moving on up the card, Mansur Abdulmalik versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Tough for Dustin Stoltzfus. Dustin Stoltzfus is one of the worst middleweights on the roster, I think. No shade, but I think. Mansur Abdulmalik was an undefeated prospect before he got beat by Yusri Belgarui, who's a very good fighter. So I think we can excuse it. It's a question, though, when you have undefeated prospects that come back after losses, how they return. Mansur Abdulmalik seems like a really thoughtful fighter. He seems like a fighter that's going to really think and evolve and learn from this past mistake. He seems like that type of fighter. I'm expecting him to come back refreshed, ready to go, and reinvigorated. Whereas Dustin Stoltzfus, I think this is just a paycheck for him. He's not very good. He loses these kind of matchups to the tough guys. The odds tend to agree with me. I'm going to go with Mansur Abdulmalik by brutal slime out. Round 1. Just annihilating Stoltzfus. And then Mansur Abdulmalik can get back in the mix as a promising lightweight at middleweight, or a promising prospect at middleweight. I think he has a chance to be ranked. I really do, but Win over Stoltzfus ain't gonna do it for him. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Mansur Abdul Malik in this one. Pretty straightforward. Moving on to one of my favorite matchups on the card: Jalen Turner versus Kaue Fernandez. Very, very interesting. I am a big fan of Kaue Fernandez. I think he's an incredibly good fighter. I think he's very talented. I think he's very good. Jalen Turner, I'm a little concerned with these days. I know he's coming out of like pseudo retirement, or he just did come out of pseudo retirement. Um, but I just think that Kaue Fernandez has got a lot of tools here. I am concerned about the physical discrepancies. Jalen Turner being so much taller, Jalen Turner having much longer reach, and Jalen Turner being a genuinely dangerous, threatening lightweight. I mean, 6'3", 155 is nuts. So, I mean, he's going to use all that range against Kaue. But Kaue Fernandez is damn good. He's one of the best leg kickers in the UFC. He has tremendous, tremendous jiu-jitsu, really good stand-up. I'm a big fan of Kaue Fernandez, and I'm going to pick him over Jalen Turner. I think he's going to submit Jalen Turner after dropping him with some kind of big shot. Jalen Turner's good. I just don't know if he's as in the game as he used to be, where I think Kaue Fernandez is riding high right now. I mean, he just came off that win over, looking back, Harry Hardwick. What can we say about Harry Hardwick, But whatever, we're going to give it to him. Kaue Fernandez, honestly, I think is going to get this done over Jalen Turner. I just don't think Jalen Turner's in it anymore, man. 15-9. Heaps of potential, but never really shows it. Could this be a coming out party for Jalen Turner? It might be. I have a lot of faith in Kaue Fernandez. I think he's a really compelling dog here, and I think he's lightweight ranked material. So I am going to go with Kaue Fernandez over Jalen Turner. Moving on, co-main event, Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. Zhang Weili not being part of this fight is something else, I'll tell you what. Mackenzie Dern is a win-loss fighter who just decided to become champion, honestly. I mean, she's lost to random contenders. And she's beaten random contenders. She never beat a champ. She beat Virna Jandiroba for the interim belt, and in pretty good fashion, but still. Jillian Robertson's on a tear recently with all the subs she's been getting, but she's older, and I don't think she's all that good either. It's an interesting one. I don't really consider this to be a championship fight. I think Wei Li, when she comes back, would easily beat whomever. But I view this as like a high-ranking strawweight fight between two like top strawweights. But I don't really put like the aura of the belt around Dern or around this fight. Which makes it interesting to me. It looks like Dern's a pretty big favorite. I'm inclined to go with Jillian Robertson, to be honest with you. I don't think Dern's all that. I think she kind of fumbled her way to the belt. Meanwhile, Jillian Robertson continues to look better and better and better and is on a huge win streak. Mackenzie Dern is obviously on a win streak. That's how she got the belt, but I don't know, man. I got a weird feeling it was never meant to be with Mackenzie Dern, and we just kind of lucked out and got her as champ. Jillian Robertson as champ would make no sense either, though. Again, paper belt. I think it's like Tyra and Van. I think whenever Pantoja comes back or whenever Wei Li comes back, that fight will determine the actual champion of this division. But in the meantime, I'm going to say Jillian Robertson will keep the belt warm. I'm going to say Jillian Robertson's going to beat Mackenzie Dern by submission, to be honest with you. Jillian Robertson's been on her shit recently. I'm worried the moment might be too big for Mackenzie Dern. It might be for Jillian Robertson too, but I'm just worried about her at this championship level with all the expectations, 5 rounds, being such a coin flip fighter. As the division was growing up, or as she was coming up the division, it was so hit or miss, So Jillian Robertson as of late has been nothing but impressive. I'm going to believe she's going to ride that into a win over Dern, either by decision or by submission. I think who really cares again? I think this is all just waiting for the return of Zhang Weili, and when Zhang Weili comes back, she'll beat whomever wins this. But for now, going with Jillian Robertson, going with the dog. I have a redhead as champ. Moving on to the main event of the evening. By far the best fight on the card. Islam Makhachev versus Garry. I've thought a lot about this fight. I've thought a lot about this fight. And as I'm talking right now, I still haven't fully made up my mind of who I'm going to go with here. There's a lot to look into with this matchup, man. I think Islam Makhachev is a next level talent. He's one of the GOATs as far as I'm concerned. This win would be huge for him. And he looked really good against JDM. I know Garry started the debate of, compare our last few opponents. Islam Makhachev just beat JDM, who I know the Prates performance makes JDM look sorry now, as did how thoroughly Makhachev beat his ass. But still, JDM, I mean, champion at the time, JDM, undefeated for 12 years, however long it was, Islam 50-45'd him. Fight before that, Renato Moicano, whatever. Short notice, did what he should do with a short notice replacement that's not on his level and got him out of there in one round. Dustin Poirier, kind of brawled it out with Poirier, which gives me some concerns for this fight, the Poirier fight, when I look at this matchup, because Islam clearly cuts up a little bit when it comes to damage, which I think Ian Machado Garry will be able to inflict, more likely than not, especially if Poirier was able to, but kind of dogged it out with Poirier, was winning the whole fight, but dogged it out with an older Poirier. Prior to that, Volk 1 and Volk 2, obviously Volk 2, make of it what you will, Volk 1, those were two absolute behemoths going head-to-head, and Islam won fair and square. You look at Ian Garry. His last win was against Bilal Muhammad. Fair enough, but now we see that Bonfim beat Bilal better than Ian Garry did. Ian Garry did stuff all the takedowns, which does bode well for this kind of matchup. Prior to that, beat Carlos Prates. That's a hell of a win on the feet. That shows Ian Garry has some real intelligence on the feet, which I think is what he needs in order to win this fight against Makhachev. Prior to that, Shavkat Rakhmonov, he lost to in a very close fight where he almost got the submission, which he's not going to get, I don't think, over Islam Makhachev. Prior to that, it doesn't really matter as much. It was Jeff Neal, and it was MVP. He beat MVP on the feet, which again, and Jeff Neal. So my takeaway from that is Ian Garry is extremely crafty on the feet. He has a really dynamic and creative and intelligent game on the feet. He knows how to win a fight. Whereas Islam Makhachev sure does too, but he's much more dangerous, much more well-rounded. Obviously, the grappling is going to be the real threat here. Ultimately, the fight comes down to what we all know it comes down to, the grappling. Islam Makhachev is no slouch on the feet, don't get me wrong. But I think he would... it's no joke that Islam Makhachev has the grappling advantage over Ian Garry by quite a bit. I think we can all acknowledge that. And Ian Machado Garry does have a striking advantage over Makhachev, but I don't think it's by much. I think the gap in their skill when it comes to grappling is bigger than the gap in their skill when it comes to the stand-up. And when it comes to the grappling, all Islam Makhachev needs to do is get in on those legs and get Ian Garry to the ground. His takedown defense looked good against Bilal. Islam Makhachev is another level compared to Bilal Muhammad. So, is there a world in which Islam Makhachev just gets the takedowns, gets Ian Garry to the ground, gets the control time, does the damage, looks for submissions, and is just able to keep the fight in his world? Absolutely. Is there a world where the taller, rangier Ian Garry is able to do what he does so well, which is dance around on the back foot, jab at range, use that length he has, and keep an opponent at bay, getting points, point fighting? But, again, Makhachev damages easily, so the damage will add up for Ian Garry. All Ian Garry needs to do, really, is avoid the takedowns. If he can stuff the takedowns, and small task, right? If he can stuff the takedowns and avoid the takedowns against Islam Makhachev, then Makhachev might be in some trouble on the feet with Garry. So, honestly, I think this is a really compelling matchup. Makhachev being that big a favorite, I think, is pretty wild. I get that he's like the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world right now, but Ian Garry provides a lot of interesting challenges for him. Ultimately, though, I gotta go with Islam Makhachev, I think, over Ian Garry. I think this fight is probably going to decision, in that I do not believe Ian Garry will finish Makhachev. Ian Garry hasn't finished someone since D-Rod. And the skill differential between D-Rod and Islam is no joke. So if Ian Garry is going to win, it's going to be by pitter-patter decision, which could happen. But I like to believe, or I'm choosing to believe, that it is more likely that Makhachev is able to get the takedowns, able to get the control time, able to hold his own on the feet well enough to not just get out-pieced by Ian Garry for 5 straight rounds. Hunt those submissions. I mean, Islam Makhachev could finish Ian Garry on the ground. I mean, there's the finishing potential, I think, is with Makhachev. And then I think the way in which he wins is through the grappling, through the control, while being more competitive on the feet than maybe Ian Garry is expecting. So, really compelling fight. I see it as a decision win for Islam Makhachev, 49-47, or 49-46. I think he wins 4 rounds. Maybe it's 48-47, but I think maybe Ian Garry wins the first round, or Ian Garry wins a round in there. I bet he'll have his moments. I bet he will have his moments where I'll be like, oh my God, Ian Garry's about to do his thing. Kind of like how Sandhagen had his moments against Marab, where for a little bit you're like, holy shit, this is going to go so bad. And then the champ reminds you why they're the champ. So, gonna go with Makhachev in this one. Really close fight, really impressive matchup. I mean, this is a really compelling fight. But I think Islam Makhachev is going to get it done, man. And then he's broken the longest win streak in UFC history. He's one of the GOATs. He's been one of the GOATs, but just keeping racking him up like this. This division is a shark tank, though, so he's got some tough fights ahead of him. I think Prates is a real risky matchup for Makhachev. But Ian Garry, it could happen, man. I think this is way closer than 350 to 275, but ultimately, I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev over Ian Garry. So let me know what you guys think down below. I know it's not an amazing card, but there are some cool fights on here, man. Like, big fan of the main card. I know they're not all, title fights or ranked matchups, but there's some interesting fights here. Decent prospects to look out for. So let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you again so much for watching, and let's go Makhachev. Take it easy. Bye bye.